Okay, now we want to look at when we have variables on both sides. So we see here that A is on this side and A is on this side. And the first question we want to ask ourselves is, can we write the story of the variable at this point? And the answer is no, because we have A on this side and we have A on this side. If we were trying to write a story, we would say A is added by 1 and that sum is multiplied by 4. But then we also have a story over here that says A is multiplied by -3 and that product is added by 5. And so we don't have any continuity between those two A's. And so what we need to do is get the A's together. And it doesn't matter which side we put them on, whether they go on the left-hand side or they go on the right-hand side. We just need to make sure they're together. And so we're going to use our distributive property, which tells us we're going to take the value of 4 and multiply it 4 times A, 4 times 1, lost that arrow, and then -3A plus 5 remains unchanged. And then now we can see that we have our A's, but we still can't write a story here because our A's are on two different sides. Here we had a problem because again, they were on two different sides, but we have to now look at this -3A, and we would want to move it over here, or the 4A can move over to the right-hand side. And generally, I would say that probably the majority of you will want to move the -3A to the other side. And since this is a subtracting of 3A, we're going to add 3A to the other side. And so we end up with 4A plus 4. And now we're going to add that 3A. Because it was subtracted, now that addition makes it so that it is no longer on this side. It was undone, it was deconstructed. And now we have like terms, and our like terms are our A's. We want to combine those because, again, we still cannot write a story at this point because our story would contain two different A's that need to be combined together. And so now we have 4A plus 3A, so now we have 7A plus 4 equals 5. Now our equation is story ready. In other words, now we can actually write the construction story of the equivalent equation. So this was our first equation. Now this equation is now equivalent to our original equation. So let's just pause a moment and write the construction story for 7A plus 4 equals 5. Okay, so we can write this construction story. A is multiplied by 7, the product is added by 4, the result is 5. You might be at the point now where you don't have to write the deconstruct story, but at any point in time, there will be several assignments that I ask you to write the deconstruct story, so make sure that you have not forgotten what needs to be put into this particular box when I ask for the deconstruct story. So go ahead and fill in your deconstruct story. If you don't need it, then you can move on to the solve process. Okay, so we're going to start with 5. Instead of adding, we're going to subtract. Instead of multiplying, we're going to divide, because this undoes the addition and the multiplication from the story of A. So now we have 7A plus 4 equals 5. We're going to have a product, so the 7A is going to be remaining. After instead of adding, we're going to subtract that 4. And so now we have a 1. And then A is going to be left. Instead of multiplying, we're going to do the division. So we end up with 1/7. So A is equal to 1/7. And now when we go to check our work, we're going to check our work and make sure that this works for the original equation, not our simplified one or our equivalent one. We don't want to check here, we want to check here because we could have made some mistakes in these steps here. So let's plug in our 1/7 for our A's. 4 times 1/7 plus 1 equals -3 times 1/7 plus 5. And then, so we have 4 times 1/7 plus 1 would be 8/7 equals, and now we're going to multiply, so numerator times numerator, so -3/7 plus 5 And here again, numerator times numerator is going to be our, so we have 32 over 7, and we want to know if that's equal to this. And we can just go to our graphing calculators and type that in. You're going to want to type in, because this is a fraction, we always use our parentheses for fractions in our calculator. So we're going to type in -3, so parenthesis -3 divided by 7, close the parentheses, plus 5, and then hit the Enter key. And you're going to come up with a decimal. So, but we're going to try and find out if that's the same thing as 32/7. So when we plug in -3/7 plus 5, and we end up with this decimal, 4.57, we want to see if it's the same thing as 32/7. So you could either take 32 and divide it by 7, and we check to see that this is in fact the same thing. So we have verified that this is a correct solution for this particular thing, so we know the value of A is equal to 1/7.